My name is not important yet. What matters is this. Before that night, I thought my husband loved and respected me. After that night, I knew I was just a joke to him. It happened on a Friday evening. Our house was full of noise, music, and the smell of grilled meat. My husband invited his friends over to celebrate his new business deal. I cooked the food, cleaned the house, and smiled at everyone like a good wife. Inside, I was tired, but I was happy for him. I thought we were a team. When his friends came, they filled our living room with loud laughter and strong perfume and cologne. They sat in a circle, holding drinks, talking about money, cars, and women. I moved around, serving them food and drinks, trying to make everyone comfortable. Every time I passed my husband, he didn't even look at me. He spoke like I was part of the furniture. I told myself, it's fine. He is busy. He is hosting. Don't overthink it. But then, everything changed. Before I tell you what really happened that broke my heart, please, my dear viewer, if you are watching this right now, take 1 second. Make sure you subscribe to this channel, like this video, and turn on the notification bell, so you don't miss more emotional and powerful stories like this. Also, go to the comments and tell me from which country you are watching. I want to know where my family of listeners are from. Now, let me continue. One of his friends, a man with a big loud voice, pointed at me and said, "Your wife is so serious. Does she ever have fun?" They all laughed. I smiled a small, shy smile and said nothing. Then my husband looked at me, and instead of defending me, he smirked. He shook his head and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Fun. This one. Please. She is only good in the kitchen and when I need someone to shout at. You people don't know the headache I live with." The room exploded with laughter. I stood there, holding a tray of drinks, my hands shaking. One of his friends added, "Ah, so all this food is from your headache. At least she's useful for something." More laughter. My ears rang. My face burned. My chest felt tight. I wanted to disappear, but I could not. I was standing in the middle of the room, like a clown in a show. My husband leaned back in his chair and continued, "You see her quiet like this. You think she is perfect. You don't know how stupid she can be sometimes. If I leave money with her, I must check it twice. She can't even think big. Only small woman things. That's why I don't tell her about serious business." His words cut deeper than a knife. Stupid. Can't think big. Only good in kitchen. Headache. All the little jokes he used to say in private were now on full display in front of his friends. My heart screamed, "How can you say that?" But my mouth stayed closed. One of the men looked at me and said, "Madam, don't be angry, oh. We're just joking." But they weren't joking. Not really. I could see it in their eyes. They were enjoying my pain. I gave a small broken smile and walked back to the kitchen. As soon as I stepped inside, away from their eyes, tears fell down my cheeks. I pressed my back against the wall and covered my mouth, so they wouldn't hear me cry. Is this how he sees me? I thought. After everything I have done for him? After all the nights I stayed awake when he was sick, sad, or broke? Memories rushed into my mind. The days when he had nothing and I shared my small salary with him. The nights I prayed for him when he said he wanted to give up. The time I sold my jewelry to help him start his business. And now, in front of his rich friends, he made me look like a foolish, useless woman. Something inside me snapped. It felt like a glass breaking. I wiped my tears, washed my face quickly, and looked at myself in the small kitchen mirror. My eyes were red, but there was something new in them. A kind of quiet fire. "I am not your joke," I whispered to myself. "I am not your headache." I picked up the tray again and walked back into the living room. This time, I watched everything carefully. The way he was laughing louder than usual. The way he was bragging about his money. The way he was pretending like he did everything alone. He didn't tell them how, when his first business failed, I borrowed money from my family to help him start again. He didn't tell them how I kept the house running when he disappeared for days, chasing deals. He didn't tell them how he used my name, my account, and my trust. But I remembered. And I had proof. As I served the last drink, one of his friends looked at me and said, "Madam, your husband is a big man now. Oh. Don't stress him too much. Make sure you respect him well." They all laughed again. This time, I did not walk away. I stood there. Very still. Very calm. My husband glanced at me and saw my face. He frowned. "What is it again?" he said, annoyed. "Go inside. We are talking." His words were like a slap. In front of them. Again. Slowly, I put the tray down on the small side table. My hands were not shaking anymore. "If you are done using me as a joke," I said quietly, "then maybe you and your friends should hear the full story." The room went silent. The music in the background suddenly felt too loud, too sharp. His friends looked from him to me, surprised. My husband's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" he asked. "Don't embarrass me here." I gave a small, cold smile. "Embarrass you?" I said softly. "No. I'm just going to tell the truth." I walked to the TV stand where his phone was charging. I took it in my hand. My husband jumped up from his chair. "Hey! What are you doing with my phone?" he shouted. His friends leaned forward, curious now. One of them whispered, "Calm down, bro. Let's hear her." I unlocked the phone. Yes, I knew his password. He never thought I paid attention. The screen lit up, full of messages, pictures, and bank alerts. My heart was beating fast, but my voice was steady as I turned to face them. "You say I am stupid," I said. "You say I can't think big. But maybe your friends should know who really built this big man life of yours, and what you have been doing behind closed doors." My husband's face lost its color. "Put that phone down," he growled. "Now." His friends watched, eyes wide. The air was thick. Heavy. Waiting. I took a deep breath, clicked open something on the phone, and raised my head. "Let me start with this," I said slowly, lifting the phone so everyone could see the screen. "This one thing. After you hear it, your life will never be the same again." And right there, in front of his friends, I opened my mouth to speak. The room was silent. So silent I could hear my own heartbeat. Everyone stared at the phone in my hand. My husband stood frozen, like a man who had just seen a ghost. "Put that phone down," he whispered again, this time not shouting. His voice shook. I looked at him calmly. "No," I replied. His friends exchanged confused looks. One of them laughed nervously and said, "Ogre, what is going on?" I raised the phone higher so they could all see the screen. "Since I am only good for the kitchen," I said slowly, "maybe I should stay there and keep quiet forever. But tonight I won't." I clicked the screen, and a bank message opened. Deposit alerts. Large amounts. Dates. Names. "This account," I said, pointing, "is in my name." One of his friends leaned closer. "In your name?" he asked. "Yes," I nodded. "Because years ago, when no bank trusted him, they trusted me." My husband shouted, "Enough." He stepped toward me, his face red. But before he could reach me, one of his friends stood up. "Wait," the man said. "Let her talk." That moment hurt my husband more than anything. For the first time that night, someone chose to listen to me instead of him. I swallowed hard and continued. "When this business started," I said, "he had nothing. No investors. No savings. No connections. I was the one who signed the papers. I was the one who allowed my name to be used. I was the one who took loans under my identity." Murmurs filled the room. My husband shook his head wildly. "She's lying," he said. "She doesn't know what she's saying." I tapped the screen again. Another file opened. Loan documents. My name. My signature. One of the men whistled softly. "This is serious," he muttered. My husband's legs started shaking. He sat back down slowly, like his strength had left him. "But that's not even the painful part," I said. I clicked again. Messages appeared. Long messages. Sweet messages. A woman's name. Heart emojis. Promises. The room exploded in noise. "Wait. What is this? Is that another woman? Bro, is this true?" I felt tears rise in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. While I was cooking, cleaning, praying, and standing behind him, I said, he was standing in front of another woman, promising her the future. My husband jumped up again. "You had no right," he screamed. "That's my private life." "Private?" I laughed bitterly. "You made my life public tonight. You laughed at me in front of your friends. So now, your truth is public too." One of his friends stood up and pointed at him. "Is this how you repay a woman who helped you?" Another shook his head. "Man, this is shameful." My husband looked around, searching for support, but none came. He turned to me, his eyes suddenly soft. "Please," he said quietly. "Let's talk inside. This is not the place." I looked at him and felt nothing. No love. No fear. Just emptiness. "This place," I said, "is exactly where it must happen. Because this is where you broke me." I scrolled further. More messages. Money transfers. "You were sending her money," I said. "Money from the business I helped build. Money from the account in my name." A loud gasp filled the room. One of the men said angrily, "You used her name and her money to fund another woman?" My husband's lips trembled. He could not answer. I felt strong for the first time in years. Not loud. Not angry. Strong. "But let me tell you something," I continued. "I did not come here to fight. I came here to finish what you started." I locked the phone screen and placed it gently on the table. "I have already spoken to my lawyer," I said. "Everything is documented. The account. The loans. The business registration. All in my name." My husband's eyes widened. "No, no, you wouldn't dare," he whispered. I leaned closer. "Watch me." One of his friends stepped back. "You mean, legally, she owns everything?" I nodded. "Yes. The business. The account. The contracts." The living room erupted. "What? Bro, you messed up. How did you allow this?" My husband grabbed his head. "This is a misunderstanding," he said desperately. "I'll fix it." "Too late," I replied softly. Suddenly, he dropped to his knees. Right there. In front of everyone. "Please," he begged, holding my dress. "You know me. You know I love you." His friends stared in shock. This was the same man who called me stupid minutes ago. I stepped back slowly and freed my dress from his hands. "You don't humiliate someone you love," I said. "You don't destroy someone you respect." Tears streamed down his face. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I checked it. A message. From my lawyer. "The documents have been filed. There's no turning back now." I looked at my husband one last time. "I told you," I said quietly, "my next action would change everything." Before anyone could speak, the front door suddenly opened, and a woman walked in. Young. Confident. Smiling. She looked around and said cheerfully, "Baby, you said the party was here." She stopped. Her smile disappeared. Every eye turned to her. Every breath froze. My husband screamed, "What are you doing here?" I slowly crossed my arms and faced her. "So," I said calmly, "you finally decided to show up." The woman looked confused. "Who is this?" she asked him. I smiled. "Your problem," I replied. And at that moment, with everyone watching, she looked at me and dropped a sentence that shattered the room completely. The woman at the door looked at me, then at my husband. Her eyes moved around the living room. The silence was heavy. Finally, she spoke. "I'm pregnant," she said. The words fell like thunder. Someone dropped a glass. It shattered on the floor. My husband's mouth opened, but no sound came out. His friends stared at him like they were seeing him for the first time. "Pregnant?" one of them whispered. The woman touched her stomach gently. "Yes," she said. 3 months. My husband shouted. "Stop. Not now. You don't know what you're doing." She turned to him, confused and hurt. "What do you mean, not now?" she asked. "You told me tonight was the best time. You said your wife already knew." Already knew. A slow pain moved through my chest, but I stayed calm. So calm it scared even me. I stepped closer to her. "Did he tell you he is married?" I asked softly. She hesitated. He said you were almost divorced," she replied. "He said you both were just waiting for the right time." His friends gasped. One of them stood up and pointed at him. "You lied to everyone?" My husband's voice broke. "Please let me explain." I raised my hand. "No," I said. "You've explained enough with your actions." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "You told me you loved me," she said to him. "You promised we would raise this child together." He covered his face with his hands. "I was confused," he muttered. Confused. That word made something inside me laugh bitterly. I turned to his friends. "You see," I said quietly. "This is the man you laughed with minutes ago." No one laughed now. One of the men shook his head slowly. "This is beyond shame," he said. The woman looked at me again. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said softly. I swear. I believed her. She was young. She was lied to. "I know," I replied. "But your child is not my responsibility." She nodded, tears falling freely now. My husband suddenly stood up and rushed toward me. "Please," he begged. "Think of our marriage. Think of everything we built." I looked him straight in the eyes. "Everything we built. You humiliated me," I said. "You used my name. You broke my trust. And tonight, you laughed at my pain." He fell back onto the chair like he'd been slapped. Just then, my phone rang again. I answered. "Yes." A calm voice replied. "Everything is moving fast. The bank has been notified." My husband heard those words and froze. "What bank?" he asked quietly. I ended the call and looked at him. "The main business account," I said. His eyes widened with fear. No, you wouldn't freeze it." "I didn't," I replied. "They did. Legally." The room erupted again. "You mean he can't touch the money?" "The business is done. This is serious trouble." My husband grabbed the table. "You're destroying me," he shouted. I tilted my head. "No," I corrected. "I am exposing you." The woman at the door wiped her face. "What happens to me now?" she asked quietly. I looked at her. "That depends on you," I replied. She swallowed hard. "He told me I'd be taken care of," she said. "He lied," I answered. She nodded slowly, like she already knew. One of the men cleared his throat. "This party is over," he said firmly. People began standing up, picking up their things, avoiding my husband's eyes. Some shook their heads as they passed him. Others whispered words I couldn't hear. Soon, the living room was almost empty. Only 4 people remained. Me, my husband, the woman, and one friend, who looked disgusted. That friend looked at my husband and said, "You lost everything tonight." Then he left too. The door closed. Silence. My husband slowly turned to me. "You planned this," he said. No, I replied. You did. The woman took a step back toward the door. I should go, she said. My husband panicked. Don't leave me, he cried. She stopped and looked at him. You already did, she said. Then she left. Just like that. I stood there, breathing slowly. Years of pain were sitting in the room with us. He walked toward me again, his voice low and shaking. What do you want? I thought for a moment. Then I said, I want my name back. My dignity back. And what belongs to me. You'll ruin my reputation, he whispered. I looked around the empty room. What reputation? I asked. He dropped to the couch and stared at the floor. I can fix this, he said weakly. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, my hands tightened as I read it. There's a problem. Something else just came up. You need to come in immediately. My heart skipped. I looked at my husband. What now? He asked quietly. I slowly raised my eyes. Something you never told me, I said. And at that moment, I realized. This nightmare was not even close to ending. My heart was pounding as I grabbed my keys. I'm leaving, I said. Where? My husband asked, his voice small and tired. I'll tell you when I understand what else you've been hiding, I replied. He tried to stop me. Please, don't go like this. I looked at his hand on my arm and gently pulled away. You let your friends laugh at me. You don't get to hold me now. I stepped out into the night. The air felt cold, but it woke me up. For the first time in years, I felt like I was walking toward the truth instead of away from it. On the drive, my lawyer's words played again and again in my head. Something else just came up. Those words were heavy. When I arrived, the office lights were still on, even though it was late. That alone made my stomach turn. I walked in and sat across from my lawyer. She looked serious. Too serious. What is it? I asked. She took a deep breath. There's another company, she said. I frowned. Another company? She nodded. One you didn't know about. It's linked to your husband's business. And your name is on it. My chest tightened. How? She slid a file across the table. Documents. Signatures. Dates. I didn't sign this, I whispered. That's what worries me, she replied. My hands began to shake. Are you saying he forged my signature? She looked me in the eye. Yes. The room felt like it was spinning. This second company has debts, she continued. Big debts. And legally, they point to you. I jumped to my feet. Debts. How much? She told me the amount. My knees felt weak. That's impossible, I said. He took loans under that company, she explained. Loans that were never used for the business. They were moved, hidden, and spent. Spent on what? I asked, my voice cracking. She paused. On houses, gifts, travel, and cash withdrawals. My mind went back to everything he said that night. She can't think big. She is stupid. He needed me to believe that. So I wouldn't look too closely. Why wasn't I informed? I asked. Because, she said gently, you were meant to take the fall if everything crashed. That sentence crushed me. I sat back down slowly. So if his business fails, you carry the blame, she finished. Tears slid down my face. Not loud tears. Quiet ones. I had given him my trust. He turned it into a weapon. There's more, she added softly. I lifted my head. What now? She turned the file to another page. A property. Overseas. My breath caught. Overseas. Yes. It's registered under a private trust. Whose trust? She didn't answer right away. Then she said, the other woman's name appears as a future beneficiary. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it hurt too much. So while I was being called a headache, I whispered, he was planning a new life. She nodded. I wiped my face. What happens now? We fight, she said. I stood up straighter. My name must be cleared, I said. We'll do everything legally, she assured me. But you must be careful. When men like this feel cornered, they become dangerous. Dangerous. The word followed me as I drove home. When I walked into the house, it was quiet. Too quiet. My husband sat on the couch with his head in his hands. He looked up when he heard the door. You went to your lawyer, he said. Yes, I replied. He nodded slowly. She told you. So it's true, I said. He stood up. I didn't have a choice, he said quickly. You always have a choice, I snapped. I was protecting us, he insisted. By destroying me? He looked away. I took a step closer. You forged my signature, I said. He said nothing. You planned to leave me with debt, I continued. Still nothing. You were building a future with another woman, I finished. His shoulders dropped. I never thought you'd find out, he whispered. That sentence hurt worse than all the others. So what would have happened, I asked, if the business failed? He swallowed hard. You would have handled it, he said quietly. I stared at him. Because I'm strong? No, he said. Because you're silent. Silence filled the room again. I stepped back. You don't know me anymore, I said. Before he could answer, his phone rang. He checked the screen and froze. Who is it? I asked. He didn't answer. The phone kept ringing. Once. Twice. Finally, he picked it up. Yes. I watched his face change. Fear. Shock. No, that can't be right, he said. He slowly sank into the chair. I walked closer. What happened? He looked up at me, his eyes wide. They're coming, he whispered. Who? The creditors, he said. My heart dropped. They found the second company, he continued. They're demanding answers. And? I asked quietly. He swallowed. They're asking for you. At that moment, headlights flashed outside the house. A car door slammed. Then another. Heavy footsteps approached the front door. And someone knocked. The knock was loud. Hard. It echoed through the house like a warning. My husband jumped to his feet. Please, he whispered. Don't answer it. I looked at him, calm but tired. This mess has your fingerprints, I said. But it has my name. The knock came again. Stronger. I walked to the door. He followed me, panic in his eyes. I can fix this, he said quickly. After tonight, I promise, everything will change. I turned to face him. It already has, I replied. I opened the door. Two men in dark suits stood outside. Serious faces. Sharp eyes. Good evening, one of them said. We're looking for the account holder. That's me, I answered. My husband sucked in a breath behind me. The men stepped inside, their shoes heavy on the floor. They didn't look at him at first. We represent the creditors linked to a company registered under your name, the second man said. There are serious irregularities. I know, I replied. They exchanged a quick glance. We need to ask some questions, the first man continued. And we'll need documents. My husband interrupted, his voice shaking. She doesn't know anything about this. I handled everything. The men finally looked at him. And you are? One asked coldly. I'm her husband, he said proudly, trying to sound confident. The man nodded slowly. Then you should sit down. My husband obeyed without a word. The men turned back to me. Were you aware of this second company? No, I said. Did you sign these documents? They placed photocopies on the table. I studied the signatures. No, I answered again. They looked at each other. This suggests fraud, one of them said. Fraud. The word felt heavy. My husband buried his face in his hands. We may need to involve authorities, the man added. Suddenly, my husband stood up. No, please. I'll pay everything back. With what money? The man asked sharply. Silence. I spoke instead. My lawyer is aware. Everything is documented. That changed the air in the room. That's good, the first man said. It shows cooperation. They wrote notes, asked more questions, and made calls quietly. Then one of them looked at me and said, "For now, your personal accounts will be protected." I exhaled slowly. But, he continued, the business assets are frozen. And an investigation will begin. My husband collapsed back onto the couch. This isn't fair, he whispered. I looked at him. It never is when truth shows up, I said softly. The men stood up. We'll be in touch, one said. As they reached the door, the second man paused and turned back. There is something else, he said. My heart skipped. What? There's another claimant, he continued. A woman. She says she invested money based on promises made to her. I already knew who that was. My husband whispered. She shouldn't have said anything. I stared at him. She has every right. The men left. The door closed behind them. The house felt empty again. My husband slid off the couch and sat on the floor. I've lost everything, he said. No, I replied. You gave it away. He looked up at me, eyes red. If you leave me now, I'm finished. I crossed my arms. You finished yourself the moment you humiliated me. He crawled closer. Please, he begged. I stepped back. Stop, I said firmly. He froze. I stayed quiet for years, I continued. I defended you. I protected you. I believed in you. He lowered his head. But tonight, I said, I choose myself. Those words shocked him more than the creditors. I walked to the bedroom and packed a small bag. He watched from the doorway, helpless. You're leaving, he asked. For now, I replied. I reached for my phone. A new message had arrived. From my lawyer. There's movement on the overseas property. Things are accelerating. I felt my chest tighten again. I looked at my husband. They're pulling at every thread now, I said. He shook his head. You don't understand how dangerous this is. I understand perfectly, I replied. I walked toward the door. As I opened it, he said something that stopped me cold. If they dig too deep, he said quietly, they'll find out about the death. I turned slowly. The death? I asked. His eyes widened. He had said too much. The room felt suddenly smaller. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. What death? I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. He sank back against the wall. And that was when I knew. I wasn't just married to a liar. I was married to a man hiding something much darker. The death. I repeated, staring at him. The room felt cold. Heavy. Like the walls were listening. My husband's lips trembled. I didn't mean to say that, he muttered. But the words were already alive. They couldn't be pulled back. I stepped closer, my heart racing. What death? I asked again, slowly. He shook his head. It's nothing. Just business talk. Don't lie to me anymore, I snapped. I'm done being your cover. Silence stretched between us. His eyes dropped to the floor. Sit down, I said. He obeyed. I stood in front of him like a stranger now, not a wife. If someone died, I said, and my name is tied to your business, I need to know. His breathing grew shallow. Finally, he spoke. 2 years ago, he began. There was a partner. A chill ran down my spine. He wasn't official, my husband continued. No papers. Just money. What happened to him? I asked. He wanted out, he said. And he wanted his money back. With interest. I clenched my fists. And he threatened to report everything, my husband whispered. The fake company. The loans. The tax lies. My chest burned. So what did you do? He covered his face. We argued, he said. Late at night. At the office. My heart pounded faster. He fell, my husband added quickly. It was an accident. I felt sick. Fell how? There were stairs, he said. He slipped. I stared at him. And the police? He swallowed. He was drunk. That's what it looked like. That's not an answer, I said sharply. He looked up at me, fear in his eyes. I paid people, he confessed, to keep it quiet. The room spun. You covered up a death? I didn't kill him, he shouted. Then he broke down. I was scared, he sobbed. I was trying to protect us. Us. You forged my signature, I said. You lied about another woman. You put debt on my head. And now this. He cried into his hands. Where is the body? I asked quietly. He froze. Where, I repeated, is the body? In the ground, he whispered. There was a funeral. Name. He shook his head. I don't know. He used fake documents. I stepped back, my legs weak. This was beyond betrayal. This was danger. If this comes out, I said, they will not just take your business. I know, he said hoarsely. They will take your freedom, I finished. He nodded slowly. I grabbed my bag. I'm leaving, I said. You can't, he panicked. If you go to the police. I haven't said that, I cut in. But I won't protect you anymore. I walked toward the door. He followed. They'll come after me, he said. I turned back one last time. You should have thought of that before using my name like trash. I stepped outside into the night. My phone rang immediately. Unknown number. I answered. Hello. A man's voice responded, low and calm. We need to meet. Who is this? I asked. I worked with your husband, the voice said. On the company you're now being questioned about. My heart dropped. There's something you should know, he continued. What? He didn't tell you everything, the man said. The line went quiet. Tell me now, I demanded. But the call ended. I stared at my phone, shaking. Headlights suddenly flashed behind me. A car slowed down at the gate. The window rolled down. And the same voice from the phone said calmly, Get in. Before it's too late. My heart slammed against my chest. The car idled at the gate, its engine humming softly, like it had all the time in the world. I did not. Who are you? I asked again, my voice shaking despite my effort to sound strong. The man behind the wheel looked straight ahead, not at me. Someone who doesn't want you blamed for another man's sins, he said. Another sin? I whispered. He finally turned his head and looked at me. His eyes were tired. Get in, he said. Standing there isn't safe. I looked back at the house. The lights were still on. My husband stood behind the curtain, watching. I hated that he could still see me afraid. I opened the passenger door and got in. Drive, I said. The car moved immediately. We drove in silence for a minute. My hands were locked together in my lap. Start talking, I said. The man sighed. I warned him, he said. Warned him about what? About involving you, he replied. About greed. About thinking he was smarter than everyone. You knew about the fake company, I said. Yes. And the debts. Yes. And the death. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Yes. My stomach twisted. So what didn't he tell me? The man pulled the car over under a streetlight and turned to face me. The partner didn't just fall, he said slowly. My breath caught. There was a fight, he continued. A serious one. I shook my head. No. He pushed him, the man said. Not to kill him, but hard enough. Tears burned my eyes. And you helped cover it up. No, he replied quickly. I walked away. That's why I'm alive. Alive. He made enemies, the man said. Dangerous ones. Fear crawled up my spine. They believe you know more than you do, he continued. Because the money, the paperwork, the companies, all point to you. I felt dizzy. So they'll come for me? They already are, he said quietly. I hugged myself. What do they want? Silence, he answered. Or someone to blame. The car went quiet again. Then he added, there's something else. My heart sank. What now? The partner's family never believed it was an accident, he said. They hired someone. A private investigator. My mouth went dry. And he found your name. I laughed weakly. Of course he did. The man turned on the engine again. You need to disappear for a while, he said. No, I replied firmly. I'm tired of running. He studied my face. You're stronger than he ever knew, he admitted. My phone buzzed. A message from my lawyer. Authorities are reopening the case. You may be questioned as early as morning. I showed him the message. He cursed under his breath. Then time is running out. The car stopped in front of a small building. Get out, he said. Where are we? A safe place, he replied. For tonight. I hesitated. You're not telling me everything either, are you? He gave a sad smile. No, he said. Because some truths don't just destroy one world. I stepped out of the car. Before driving off, he leaned out the window and said, when they ask you questions, remember this. My phone rang again. This time, it was my husband. I ignored it. The man finished. The moment he humiliated you was the moment he lost control of the story. The car drove away, leaving me alone under the light. I walked inside the building. The door closed behind me with a loud click. Inside, someone spoke from the shadows. You came. I froze. Who are you? The figure stepped forward. And when I saw the face, my blood ran cold. Because it was someone I thought had been dead. I couldn't breathe. My body felt frozen where I stood. You. I whispered. The man stepped fully into the light. Older. Thinner. But unmistakable. No, I said, shaking my head. You're dead. He gave a slow, tired smile. That's what he wanted everyone to believe. My heart thundered in my ears. This was the partner. The man who supposedly fell. The man who was buried. You were at the funeral, I said, my voice trembling. Yes, he replied quietly. But not in the coffin. I stumbled back and leaned against the wall. This is impossible. I paid to disappear, he said. He didn't just try to kill me. He finished my life on paper. My hands shook. Why are you here? I asked. Because your name replaced mine, he answered. The air felt thick. When I survived, he continued, I stayed quiet. I was injured, weak, hiding. But then I saw the records. He looked straight into my eyes. He transferred everything to you. Tears filled my eyes. So all this time, he was preparing you to fall, the man said. Prison, debt, shame. While he walked away free, my legs nearly gave out. I never agreed to this, I whispered. I know, he said gently. That's why I reached out. I wiped my face. Why now? Because the creditors are desperate. The authorities are digging. And the people he owes are dangerous. My chest tightened. And you? I want my life back, he replied. Silence filled the room. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. He doesn't know I'm alive, he said. My breath caught. Then why is this safe place compromised? He frowned slightly. What do you mean? Before I could answer, footsteps echoed outside the door. Slow. Deliberate. A key turned in the lock. The man's eyes widened. That key only one person has, he whispered. My heart dropped. Who? Before he could answer, the door opened. And my husband stepped inside. His eyes moved from me to the man standing beside me. His face drained of all color. You, he whispered. The room filled with shock, fear, and unfinished truth. The man spoke first. Surprised. My husband took a step back, his legs shaking. You should be dead. The man smiled coldly. So should your lies. I stood between them, my heart racing. That's enough, I said. Everything ends now. But my husband suddenly laughed. A broken, desperate laugh. You think this changes anything, he said. Then he reached into his jacket. My breath stopped. What are you doing? I shouted. He looked at me, eyes wild. I'm not going to jail for this. The metal glinted under the light. And at that moment, I realized. This was no longer about money, business, or betrayal. It was about survival. The metal in his hand shook. But it was real. I stepped back slowly. Don't, I whispered. My husband laughed again, louder now. You ruined me, he said. You exposed me. You think I'll just sit and watch you take everything? The man who should have been dead raised his hands calmly. Put it down, he said. This won't save you. Shut up, my husband screamed. His eyes were red, wild, empty of reason. I built all of this, he shouted. I won't let anyone take it from me. You didn't build it alone, the man replied. You stole. You lied. And you tried to erase me. My husband pointed the metal toward him. I should have finished the job. That sentence froze my blood. Listen to me, I said quickly. This ends badly if you pull that trigger. He turned to me slowly. You chose them, he said. No, I replied. I chose the truth. He stepped closer. So this is how you repay me. I held my ground even though my legs were shaking. You humiliated me, I said. You used my name. You almost buried me alive. His face twisted in anger. Enough. Suddenly, sirens sounded in the distance. Faint. But real. Everyone froze. The man beside me whispered. They're coming. My husband's panic returned. He looked around like a trapped animal. Who called them? He demanded. I said nothing. The man spoke instead. I did. Before I came here. My husband screamed and pointed the metal at him again. You set me up. No, he replied. You set yourself up. The sirens grew louder. My husband's breathing became fast and uneven. Sweat rolled down his face. They won't take me, he said over and over. He moved closer to me instead. Too close. Step back, I warned. He didn't. I loved you, he said suddenly, his voice breaking. I just didn't know how to stop. I looked into his eyes and saw it clearly. This man was no longer thinking. The dead man shouted. Get away from her. Everything happened at once. My husband spun around. Someone lunged forward. The metal slipped. A loud bang filled the room. I screamed. The lights went out. Darkness swallowed us all. Someone fell to the floor. Hard. I couldn't tell who. The sirens were right outside now. Doors slammed. Voices shouted. In the chaos, someone grabbed my arm and pulled me back. "Stay down," a voice yelled. I was shaking, my ears ringing, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. Then the lights flashed back on. Police officers flooded the room. "Drop it." On the ground. I looked around desperately. The metal lay on the floor. One man was on his knees. Another was not moving. My breath caught in my throat as I realized. I didn't yet know who had been shot. The room was flooded with light. Red and blue lights flashed on the walls. "Don't move," an officer shouted. I stayed where I was, my hands raised, shaking. Slowly, I turned my head. My husband was on his knees, hands in the air, crying. The man who was supposed to be dead lay on the floor, bleeding from his shoulder, but alive. A deep breath escaped me. I didn't know I was holding it. Medics rushed in. One officer pushed my husband down and clicked the handcuffs around his wrists. "It's over," the officer said firmly. My husband screamed. "She ruined me. She planned everything." I looked at him with tired eyes. "You ruined yourself," I said quietly. He tried to look at me again, but the officers pulled him away. As they lifted him, he locked eyes with me one last time. No anger. Only fear. That was the moment I knew. He had no power over me anymore. The man on the floor looked at me. "I'm sorry," he said weakly. "I know," I replied. The truth spilled out that night. The fake fall. The forged signatures. The hidden companies. The lies. By morning, it was all over the news. Charges were filed. Fraud. Attempted murder. Forgery. My name was cleared. Weeks later, I stood in a quiet room and signed the final papers. The business was no longer his. The debts were no longer mine. I walked out into the sunlight, a free woman. I learned something painful but powerful. Silence does not save you. The truth does. If you are watching this and you've ever been made to feel small, embarrassed, or powerless, remember this. Your voice matters. Like this video if this story moved you. Subscribe for more emotional and powerful life stories. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Because sometimes, the moment someone tries to destroy you, is the moment they lose everything.